Give me a real one. Welcome,
I'm
everyone.
looking at your face.
Nope. You got me. All right. Welcome, everyone, to this week's Ultimate Cosplay Podcast. I am Todd Custom, and our co-host on the other side of Aspen over there is Hoku Props. Would you like to say hello?
Yeah, hi, everyone. Welcome.
Yeah.
One of those.
This week, our guests are known as Aspen, Bryce, and Briston of Frostbite Cosplay. Would you all individually like to say hello real quick?
Hello.
Hey there.
Hello.
Okay, so we got Aspen next to me, and then Bryce is bottom left, Briston is bottom right. And who wants to explain what Frostbite Cosplay is, what you guys are known for, and what do you do?
Well, I mean, I guess kind of the biggest thing we're known for is larger than life costumes. We made the mistake early on of deciding that we had a great time with these, got at the Goodwill and stuff, upcycled stuff, costumes at the first convention that Aspen and I cosplayed at. Immediately the next day decided, well, hey, that was cool. It can't be that hard. Let's build a 14-foot long toothless quad suit. And so that's kind of been what we've been known for ever since.
Yep.
Is just the bigger stuff, and it was that hard. I don't recommend jumping in like that.
I can attest. I understand fully well how obnoxious larger than life is. So props to you guys for accomplishing that. And you guys have built substantially more larger than life costumes than me too.
Oh yeah, and
yeah, we're up to what? We're in the double digits, I think.
Yeah, we've done a few for sure.
So Toothless, Yes Man, the Super Mutant. Yeah, we're somewhere in the double digits. I'd honestly, I'd have to look. It's some.
Check that.
So all five of us have competed in TwitchCon at some point, and some of us have judged that. But Hoku, all of Frostbite, myself, we've all been around for at least 5 or 6 years. We've all competed. We've all judged. Obviously, Frostbite is one of our judges again this year. Those of you who don't know, all of Ultimate Cosplay's idea was Frostbite's idea. And we'll probably talk about that a little bit, for the people that haven't heard the story at some point. But yeah, I've always admired you. I kind of got to know you guys when I started working for TNT Cosplay Supply, and my boss introduced all of us together, and I got to do a couple of video shoots with Bryce when I was new to Dallas. So, God, I have way too many questions. I'll edit this out so it looks like I'm professional. But Hoku, do you have any kind of intro questions that you want to ask?
Oh no, I've got pretty deep nitty gritty ones, a lot of which involve materials, science, philosophy, how the heck you guys work as a family together on stuff and not hate each other, or maybe you do.
We didn't mention, they're all siblings. This is 2 brothers and a sister, and they're all in the same house in 3 different rooms right now.
Yep.
Yeah, we are. We've kind of got the whole thing taken over and all spread out.
Yep. So you're seeing 3 different parts of their whole workshop, and not even all of it, because their whole house is basically a big cosplay workshop.
Yeah, I've sacrificed most of the living space that I've got here to a build space and everything.
Which you guys are Texas. Which
Yes.
city in Texas are you guys from? Or are you living in?
We're in Arlington, which
Arlington.
is kind of smack dab in the middle between Fort Worth and Dallas.
Yep.
Gotcha. Well, I know one of these days when it's safe and I can travel more, I wanna come out and see your guys' place and hang out for sure.
Well, Hoku, you're going to be in Dallas in a week, by the way.
Right, but that's such short notice. I don't want to just show up and be like, yo, what's up, guys?
I'm here.
Hey, I'm vaccinated. You're vaccinated. They are.
That's true.
It's true.
If
you
guys
are you
want to
guys
come
down
over,
to have a
yeah, hey man,
greet?
if you wanna swing by,
let's do it. Yeah, let's
figure it out.
We get to do an in-person cosplay hangout. Okay, so
that's exciting.
I think
we'll take social media pictures for
you guys will see whatever we end up doing.
I'll wear one of your Reinhardts if they are there any that are surviving.
Yeah, I've got the Dallas
There's
Fuel
one right
one that's
Bryce.
behind me. That's the only one that we currently have and own. The others have One of them was owned by a Houston Outlaws fan that commissioned it, and one of them was literally falling apart so bad after PAX that it got put in a dumpster behind the convention center.
Oh no!
It was one of those things. It's like, this isn't even worth trying to get home anymore. Like, it's had a hard life.
It has come and it has gone. It is time to move on. Well, so that actually, so I do have a starting question for you guys, and that is, you know, obviously you three work together, but is there a specific type of work that each of you individually specialize in? Like, are you guys good at balancing each other out, or is everybody kind of a jack of all trades?
I mean,
That's an excellent question.
Yeah. Go, Aspen.
I think we all dabble in each other's things. I feel like Bryce is definitely, when it comes to 3D modeling and whatnot, he's our go-to guy. I think I definitely take the lead when it comes to fabric work or sewing. And then if we're talking structural things or woodworking, Briston has been a really great resource for those, Anna.
Cool.
That's awesome.
I wanted to ask, actually, before we get into the deep cosplay stuff, because I always love asking this question, but what do you guys each do? Because you're not all full-time makers and cosplayers, even though you do, you know, commission work and other things. We'll talk about that. But what are your day jobs?
Do you want to have it start with you, Bryce?
Every time we ask a question for all of you, we're gonna do it in the same cycle.
The same order. That's probably the easiest way to go.
So you guys don't get confused. So let's go Briston, Aspen, Bryce. Every time we ask.
No. Ladies first.
Okay.
Man.
All right. Fair enough.
Ladies first.
Good
Aspen,
call. Aspen.
Briston,
Okay, so I'm a graphic designer, and I specifically design kits for police cars and fire trucks.
Wow.
All day, every day.
Wow.
Yep. That's me.
I knew you were a designer, but I didn't know the specifics of that. That's really cool.
Yep. So I mean, I'll dabble in things off to the side, but I'd say 80 to 90% of what I do is fire engines or police cars.
Cool. Briston?
That's awesome.
This one's probably going to be a little bit out of left field, but I'm actually a construction plumber.
Really?
So when like Amazon or whoever wants to go build a warehouse, they contract our company, and I get sent out to go get more or less just warehouses built. We don't do a whole lot of other type of buildings.
That's really interesting. I did not know that. And we were guessing before we went live what he did, and I thought he was an IT guy for like some accountant firm or something. So I just got proven wrong. And Bryce, what would yeah, go ahead.
So I work as a paramedic in a 911 system,
which is awesome.
So a little bit different than the costume building world.
Well, yeah, actually, so Aspen and Briston do make things or build things at work, but you save people's lives, which is awesome. I like asking that question to kind of humanize people, because everyone thinks that a lot of judges or things like that run contests are full-time, you know, makers, and that's not necessarily always true. But moving into more kind of what cosplay looks like, because you guys do commission work, you work for a couple of different you know, brands and stuff like that. Do you want to talk about your connection to, you know, how you monetize cosplay, or what you end up doing on a professional level there?
Yeah, we when we started out, we actually had a pretty strict rule that we didn't do commissions, that it was just going to be something that we just did for fun. You know, we're not going to let this whatever. And then as things have progressed, we started to get known a lot at different events, started getting asked to you know, to guest and judge at different things and whatnot. And we started getting approached by companies instead of individual people, and the opportunities started coming up to work for some really cool stuff that's like, man, I would actually really like to do that. Like, I know that it's kind of a rule that we don't do this, but you know, let's go ahead and do this one. And then 1 became 2, and then 2 became 3, and then 3 became 17, and it became, you know,
are those
kind
NDA
of
things, or can you say what they were?
Some of them are NDA things, but well, a lot of the recent ones are NDAs. But I think our big start actually came from a company called AOE Creative that is an esports marketing firm. That they were contracted by the Houston Outlaws the first year of the Overwatch League to help with their promotions and stuff and whatnot. They and Lucy in Disguise Cosplay that they had hired to help out with stuff got a hold of us and asked if we could build a Houston Outlaws Brigida for them to build this this kind of a mascot thing to go to live events and things like that. And so that was kind of our big start into getting into the esports world. That's where most of our building now comes, was based off of that and the response that that got. That's actually also why Arissa for TwitchCon, instead of having the full 3 months to build, we had to build it in 6 weeks because it overlapped that
I remember that.
that time frame.
yep.
So there was
I
a,
thought you
a
guys were
panic-stricken
insane
thing.
when you did that, and you were legitimately insane.
Yeah, we were.
Do not recommend, by the by.
Yeah, and that was the first time you'd ever built that, and they did it in a full-size, larger-than-life Arissa, and they got in as a finalist in TwitchCon 2017, I believe. And Hoku was a judge because he had won the year before.
That was 2018. That was the TwitchCon that was at San Jose Convention Center.
I
it
was
the
there
same
for that.
year that it was the same year that I was dressed up in Lich King Boulevard.
Right.
And I remember being very excited to see them show up with Arissa. Because in 2016 I had obviously built Reinhardt, the Lionheart skin, and Overwatch is very near and dear to my heart. And man, like, I think I've seen that Arissa, and I gotta say, I think I could still smell some of the paint when you guys came in for that one.
Yeah.
Well, you actually technically probably could. There was some touch-up work right before we went in, so yes, you probably smelled like wet paint a bit.
Yeah, we built Arissa and thinking it's like, okay, we want this to look as good as possible, so let's use the tiniest possible wheels on the back legs.
Right.
And it's like, because this is going to be on a stage, of course, it's wood or whatever, it's going to roll fine. We show up in the first night when they're looking at the stage, it's like, this is some really plush carpet. We are in really big trouble.
Oh
And
my
so
goodness.
just that night, we had to ran to a Walmart and cannibalized a couple of cheap skateboards to steal the wheels that night and be like, okay, this is gonna be fine. This is gonna be fine. And
Well,
it
it had
just,
skateboard trunks on it. I didn't even know that.
yeah. Well, it doesn't anymore, but for
was not
TwitchCon
fine.
it did.
It
No, it was not fine.
It had some technical difficulties there at the end.
Right
if I
before
recall.
it came, like the
I
step
think
before
your
I
entire
got
butt fell off, didn't it?
No,
Yeah,
just 1 foot, but
Just
but-
1 foot.
the
Yeah.
step before I went on stage. We were like, we're in line. Bryce, I think something's wrong with the foot. And he's like, no, there's nothing wrong with the foot.
yeah,
That's right.
I got down and
First
looked at it.
step onto
Everything
the
looked
stage.
fine.
Yeah.
And there it goes. It's
Oh,
like,
man.
oh no.
You know what? It's ironic that you guys are saying that, because I think that's tell me how you feel about this. But when I was doing Reinhardt at TwitchCon, I remember the big fear I had with that whole build started with the feet. It was the first piece I built. I got the stilts, built the legs. I was like, am I going to be able to even walk in this? Because if I can't walk in it, I can't make it, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I had asked the guys at Twitch who were running the show, I was like, what is the flooring going to be? And I don't know how big is your guys' Reinhardt?
He is 7'4".
Yeah. So same scaling as what I found. Like that to me is like the perfect Reinhardt height from everything I could find. I screwed up and ended up making myself like 8 feet. I just mathed wrong. So I was a little bit extra up there, but so I asked them, I was like, hey, what is this flooring going to be? And they told me it was going to be carpet. And so prejudging it was carpet worked great. I could take these nice big strides. And Reinhardt, we go downstairs, right? And Chris was there competing as well. And so before the start of the contest, I'm like, this is polished concrete. The bottom of my 18-inch high stilts is like grip tape from a skateboard, right?
Yep.
On polished concrete, it's like ice skates.
Right.
And I'm just like twinkle toes in this thing. The other thing, and oh man, you guys will laugh at this one. So to get onto stage, right, at the San Diego Convention Center, they had actually built the entire stage. It wasn't intended to be there, and it had no scaffolding or no ramp to get up.
No, the
So
ramp
they
was
built-
like 45-degree angle.
Yeah, they built
Gotcha.
a wooden ramp that was probably, I don't know, 3.5, 4 feet long, probably
Right.
a 40,
It was
degree
super
incline.
steep, and I know that because
So-
like 3 people fell down it on their way off stage.
Yeah.
So I looked at it and I was like, this is going to be a problem
Mhm.
to the stage manager. It's funny because I've actually, like, the stage manager and I now have like hung out a couple times over like 3 years. So I took my boot and I just set it on the ramp, and it was like at this angle. And I was like, do you think I can walk up at this angle? And the guy was just like, yeah, we're going to have a problem. So they just ended up having me stand off stage. But
Thankfully, you were so
Uh,
big that you were
that is-
standing on the ground, and you
I
were
was
still
eye
tall
level
enough,
with the competitors. It was
Yeah.
great.
which is
so-
great.
It is
Fun
awesome.
times. Larger than life. Nobody understands what it's like to make a larger than life costume until you've made a larger than life.
No, yeah, I mean, it is not a case of just building a small costume but bigger.
No,
Like, there's
no.
so much.
And then the other one is nobody knows what it's like to wear a larger than life until you've worn a larger than
Yeah.
life and felt the fear just course through you. It's not a question of if you're gonna fall, it's a question of when.
Well,
Yeah.
always
there's
what's
a
going through my
difference
head. I was
probably
like,
between
Is this the day?
there's got to be a difference between wearing a larger than life when you're just wearing one at a con and when you're competing in a con, right?
Yeah.
Well, and
Yeah.
Or
yeah.
is there still the same
Kinda.
amount of
I
fear
think
that I'm gonna
competing's
fall
easier
and
because you don't have to worry about
yeah,
people.
it depends. Like, I actually think competing's kind of like when we competed at DreamHack. I remember showing up and it was the same thing. They had the ramp of doom. That's like, okay, you got to get up here, and I ended up having to walk up it backwards because it's like this is the only way that I don't die. Like if I try to walk forward, it's game over.
Is there footage
So we're
of
gonna come
that
up this
somewhere?
ramp backwards.
I have to see footage of that.
And that was the only way I could do it. But
did
when
the
Briston
moonwalk
when
in
Briston moved
Reinhardt.
Yeah,
out
I want to
here,
see Reinhardt moonwalk backwards up a ramp at. Oh man, that sounds awesome.
but when Briston first moved out here, Aspen and I had already been living here for a while and been doing this for a little while. And he moved down here to to start his career and stuff and whatnot. And it was just before Halloween. And there was this benefit fundraiser thing in a park. And just because I'm a nice person and Aspen's obviously a supporting sibling, we wanted him to feel like the star of the show. So we threw him in a 14-foot long toothless quad suit, complete with the forearm stilts and everything, right out the gate at a trick or treat, whatever Halloween event, to be like, good luck. I hope you live.
Have
There
you
was a
guys
learning
fallen-
curve, let's just say.
Have you guys actually fallen at all in any of your larger than life costumes?
I've fallen in Reinhardt once,
Yeah.
in my original Reinhardt, and it was I was at Acon teaching a panel about how to use stilts in cosplay, and in front of everybody.
So were you like, and that's how you fall in larger than life?
Yeah, it was
A
it was
controlled
one of those
slide,
things like
and yeah.
I've got it all done and I'm demonstrating. It's like, yeah, this isn't that big of a deal. Once you get comfortable with stilts, you can do whatever. I jumped a couple of times. I was, turning around and, making big strides and everything and whatnot. And I caught the toe on I don't even know what I caught on, but I caught the toe on something. And it was
Yeah.
just, you have that moment of pinwheeling before you realize that this is inevitable.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, that's
How
a-
big are the stilts that you have in your Reinhardts typically?
My Reinhardt stilts are 13 and a half inches, I think. They're a little
Okay.
over a foot.
How tall are you?
Yeah, he's a
I'm
tall
6'1".
guy.
You're 6'1". So you basically what you're saying is you cheat.
I do. I do. I actually got accused at the Great Reinhardt race of the Overwatch League.
Yeah.
Chris Puckett after the event, they're doing a thing about it, and he's like, "Well, the Dallas Fuel guy's much taller. The Houston Outlaws one was on stilts." It's like, Chris is taller than I am.
Yeah.
Yep.
His
Oh,
stilts
man.
were smaller.
That's like so Woodwarder, who made the Grief Heart, he is I think 6'2", and he didn't even have to do stilts. He just did like these platform wedge things.
Wow.
And so like I'm 5'10", I have to have 18-inch tall stilts to get like high enough. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a really short legs. But I will say I'm very, on one hand, I'm super jealous of all the Reinhardts that have not done Lionheart or a visible face Reinhardt, because you guys don't have to be as high up there. I, on the other hand, I'm like, it's way far down. That's awesome. Oh goodness. Well, Now that we've talked about Reinhardt, and Reinhardt.
Right, we should have had the
Right.
Egg Sisters and all the other Reinhardts
Yeah,
that we know.
gather the Council of Reinhardts.
Yeah. Oh wow.
man.
What
This
was
is
I?
true.
So I actually, if for those of you who don't know, last year, all of Frostbite made all the medallions, the medals for the show, and also Hoku had designed the trophy, and then Frostbite printed and assembled it here in Dallas for our Best in Show last year. And as I was thinking about that, I was like, you know what? Before we even talk about, because I want you guys to show those medals at some point, but I think now would be a good time to talk about the birth of Ultimate Cosplay, and just because it's a fun little story that started with a phone call between Bryce and myself. So I'll kind of start it, and then I'll let Bryce fill in some of the gaps. And actually, I kind of want to hear some of what Aspen and Briston have to say, because I didn't talk to you guys directly when this was happening. But anyway, last year, on around May 1st, I believe, Bryce called me and he said, hey, I've got a bunch of, what was it? So, platinum silicone that was going to go bad.
Yeah, I had a bunch of silicone and resin that had to be used. That's like, this has got to be done.
Right. This is the first part of how this show ended up started, was that he had a bunch of molding material that was going to go bad. So he called me and he said, hey, I've got all this stuff. It's going to go bad if I don't use it. I kind of want to make a bunch of like medals and trophies and stuff. And I was like, okay, what do you want to do with it? Or with those? Like, do you want to put on a contest? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, okay, I'm not qualified to be a judge because I've never won any awards or anything like that at the time. And Bryce said, I don't want you to be a judge. I want you to organize and run this thing and to be the host. And I was like, wow, okay. I said, give me like half an hour. Let me make some phone calls and I'll get back to you. And within half an hour, I called Hoku, Evil Ted, the Egg Sisters, and Jackie Kraft. I believe those are the other. Yeah, that's. And every single person answered the phone. And I asked them all, would you like to be a judge if we put on a contest, like a virtual contest? Because this was about 2 months into lockdown after COVID started. So there was no cons, no contests. No one had any reason to make any costumes. So anyway, we had Frostbite, Hoku, Jackie Kraft, Evil Ted, and the Egg Sisters on board. They all said yes to doing a contest. And then, yeah, we didn't even have a name for it at the time. So this is like May 1st. The show is on May 30th. So within 30 days, we put this whole show together. And I kind of want to hear from just, I don't know, all four of you guys' perspectives of like, when that was starting to develop, what was that like for each of you?
Aspen?
What's that?
Aspen?
Yeah, let's start with
So,
Aspen.
I definitely didn't expect what happened last year to be the result of, hey, I want to learn how to make a medal.
And I think there's
hundreds
a small
of
element of like,
submissions
I want to do something
and-
like Vulpin does type of thing. I remember.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those, hey, I kind of want to learn how to do these things. Bryce has a tendency to have ideas that get completely out of hand, and I would definitely consider this to be one of them.
Yep.
It's a
so
superpower if harnessed right.
it can be good stuff. I mean, we've had some interesting things where he has these ideas and they just get really out of hand. I would put this contest as one of them for sure.
Absolutely.
But he gets this idea and he calls up and we make little medals and stuff. I think about the point where we were, what was it, with 12-hour Zoom call while we were judging or prejudging last week or last year.
it was like 3 days
Last
actually.
week. No, yeah, it was last week, right?
Or sorry, last year. Anyway, that
feels like
12-hour
last week.
where 12 hours where all 6 of us were just like, what do you think of this one? This one, this one, this one. And you have this list of hundreds of costumes, and everyone that flashes across the screen is like, dang, that's a really cool costume. I think that's when it really hit me about I don't know what we've gotten ourselves into. This is really neat though, because like, this is a hard choice that we're having to narrow down here. So I definitely didn't expect it to get nearly as big as it did for sure
Yep.
last year.
I can second that. Like when we first started, we thought this was gonna. First of all, we didn't really think this was gonna leave like the U.S. in the slightest,
Right.
let alone like all the countries we hit.
And
And
that's,
Judging
that's
Week
actually
was
just a really short, quick anecdote that, simply put, I think I had someone from Switzerland say, "Hey, I heard about your contest. Can I enter?" And I was just like, "Sure, why not?" Right? And then I just went to the website, updated the rules, and said, "This is an international competition. Anyone from anywhere can enter."
But no, it got crazy on that front. By the time we were done, there were quite a few different languages, and Google Translate
Yep.
became quite a few people's friends.
We had 34 countries, cosplayers from 34 different countries last year submit, which was insane. And this year we're at 18 so far, but we still have 6 days to go. I'm predicting a lot more than 18 different countries, but yeah, so we had our submission window open for I think we took the first week to kind of like pick judges, organize how is this going to work type of thing, and try to make it look professional. So I put a page on my personal website on talkcustom.com for a contest. And then I remember all of us were in a meeting and we were trying to figure out what to call this contest because we couldn't decide. And we were like, someone said like, "Oh, the Gryffindor cosplay." Like it was just a bunch of random ideas. And I was getting really frustrated because we couldn't decide. And I was just like, fuck it, let's just call it like the ultimate online cosplay championship or something. And everyone went quiet. And someone, I think it was Chad, was just like, "Dude, that's not bad." And
I don't think I said that's not bad. I said, why the heck not?
right, yeah, like we got approval somehow with that. So it was just thrown out as a random idea and it just stuck. And then Aspen went and made the crown logo and picked the fonts. And within a day, we had some cool branding.
Yeah.
And then we had 2 weeks where submissions were open and we kind of marketed it a little bit. And we just got an outrageous amount of submissions. And then we had a week to deliberate, prejudge, judge, and build the show in like 4 or 5 days. It was insane. It was ridiculous.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And getting 300 submissions and having every single person that entered get some kind of screen time during the show.
Insane.
Yeah.
It was insane.
It was.
Actually,
It
so
was- it was
Hoku,
a-
what was that month like for you?
Oh man.
And
So
Sammy, I should say, because you guys were both judging together.
yeah, so what I distinctly remember most is getting this cold call from you, and the overall message was, "Hoku, I need you." Which I get that call actually regularly enough where I'm ready and prepared for it, and I have I think a realm of what expectation that is going to need and require. So of course my answer is absolutely, let's do it. What are we doing? And then that kind of really evolved. It was at that point where it's like, okay, so we have this contest. There's all the logistical planning that goes into it, but we didn't have a lot of time. So it was like, well, let's just do as much logistical planning as is going to happen in 2 weeks while also doing everything else. No contracts, no rules, no regulation. And then it was like, okay, we're going to need this. We're going to need this. We're going to need this. And so I think we did a really good job within the 2 weeks of getting like that prerequisite amount of logistical planning in there. But it was also like, man, we got to do some sick stuff and get some sponsors involved. And luckily enough, you get Evil Ted, you get Jackie Craft, you get Talk Custom, you get Hoku Props, you get Frostbite, you get Egg Sisters, you get all of these people involved, right? And all of a sudden we've got like our each mutual like backers and people that are fans of us and companies we've worked with all just like, here's some prizes. And we're
Yeah.
like, wait, what, you guys want to support what we're doing? This is crazy. Okay, cool.
Yeah, we had 18 sponsors last year, which was insane for a first time anything to do that.
Yeah.
Yep. It was. And it was magical. And it was, what's I will say, I don't have an opportunity to talk to the Frostbite crew nearly often as much as I wish, but Bryce and I know we've we worked. I enjoyed working together with you on the trophy.
Yeah.
And getting that kind of whole thing going. It's really fun for me to be able to 3D model something and not have to build it. So
Yeah, it was
it's so much cleaner.
It was
But
interesting because I learned how to 3D model strictly through, hammering at the buttons until something came together.
Yeah.
And so I remember you're sitting here talking about, it's like, well, what if we Boolean this? And I'm like, what does that even mean? It's
You
like-
played it so well. I had no idea.
it was one of those things that it's like, oh, you mean making a tab in a hole? Yeah, no, that sounds good. Let's do that.
Oh goodness. Well,
Going
suffice to
through
say,
everything
You've
that
come
it
a
was
long
just-
way since then too. Yeah.
Well, no, I still don't know
Man.
the terminology. Like I can model the stuff, but I don't know what it's called or
That's
what I'm
funny.
doing. Like,
you know what though? That's modeling at one point. It's more like for me, half the time it's like muscle memory, boop, 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 boop. The only reason I know the terminology is because I want to teach people the terminology,
Yeah.
keep in mind every single program, there's like a consistent level of terminology, and then there's the flavor that gets added in which it's a
Right.
completely different name. And you're like, wait, isn't that just this? Isn't that just that? And whatever. But suffice to say, man, like I will say publicly, we really got to do a better job about keeping in contact. I'll try harder because you guys are all great, and I
No,
really like
definitely,
that
yeah.
you're.
well,
I
and
really
once the
love that you guys started all of this madness, and I'm looking forward to what it evolves into over the next who knows how many years. We're gonna
It's-
be old parents and whatnot, gassy, just making costume contests still.
This
Yeah.
has already mutated so much in. It's been less than a year, by the way, since Bryce
Yeah.
called me about this.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, no, and that's the thing. This whole thing, I was just driving to work. I have about an hour commute, and I tend to think of crazy stuff while I'm driving to work. And I was just like, it would be cool to make some medals or something. We could do that. And I remember texting Aspen and being like, "Hey, how do you feel about this?" And got like this. I mean, I guess kinda. And we were talking about this. And I
Oh,
remember I
no.
messaged. I'm like, "Well, we've failed at streaming a lot of times. Like we have proven that we are not good at this. Like just the way that our workflow goes and stuff and whatnot. Like this is not a thing.
It's
We need
hard.
somebody else to handle the streaming side of this because we can't do it."
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
and that's why I sent you the idea, because it was like, hey, man, Talk streams a lot. He's good at it. He's somebody that we know and can work with. Let's see if he's down with this. And then it's kind of the same thing as everybody else. You look at this whole of what you've created, and it's like, oh man, this wasn't really what I was expecting.
Whoops.
and it was
Whoops.
that was really fun for me because I haven't had the opportunity because I've been so buried in commissions for so long. I didn't really get a chance to grow into different technical areas of cosplay, but I kind of like you were just saying, I was very good at building kind of like overlays and setting up stream type stuff, and I had this great vision as you were asking about doing this. Like I started getting visions in my mind of how I wanted this to look, who I wanted to be involved. I actually made a list of like 20 different judges, but because everyone said yes right away, I couldn't even get through that list. But I mean, I'm thrilled with who we had, and it was fantastic. But so I started building overlays in the show before I think we even had submissions open. And anyway, so what ended up happening was all of us were blown away by the amount of engagement, submissions, things like that. The quality of the costumes was outrageous. Judges were furious. They did not have a good time. It was so challenging picking winners. We did this show. We ended up having, I think, somewhere between 1,500 and 2,000 people watching it live, which was amazing. And then we've had like 15,000 views on the actual show since. And I remember the day after the show, my mom called me and said, "What you guys did yesterday was incredible. This needs to be its own brand and its own company." And I was like, "That's ridiculous. There's no way. I don't have time for that. I'm already working for 2 companies, whatever." But people didn't stop talking about what we did last year for months and months and months. And sorry, my phone is buzzing. Oddly enough, it was around Christmas. I was talking to Hoku, and people were still talking about what we had done last May. And Hoku and I are, we talk like every day because he's my boyfriend pretty much. And we were like, "What do you think? Should we do another one?" And we were like, "Yeah, let's do it." We called you first, because you started the thing. We wanted to make sure you guys were on board, and you said yes. And then we started. I made a list of judges, but we didn't stop calling people. We just kept adding more and more judges this year. And things got so out of control so fast in January when we announced, where we got so many sponsors, so many people, so many judges, just so much everything, so much engagement that we ended up getting a business license. My brother got involved. So Hoku, myself, and my brother got an LLC with this brand name. And it all started with just this, I'm bored on my way to work conversation. So now this year we have 16 different judged brands. And our whole committee is 25 people total, which is incredible.
How many sponsors?
We have, I think, 29, but
30 if you include Corsair.
I was including them, but
oh yeah, surprise! Corsair is
yeah.
sponsoring the contest. Everyone,
Beverly Downen sent me 2 yesterday, and then there was someone else that gave me.
So they're
we
still
might
trickling in.
We might have like 32 sponsors this year, which is
that's
about
awesome.
twice as many as we had last year. And the funny thing is, like, people take this whole event very seriously, which is funny to me because I don't know what the hell I'm doing, and we're just kind of making this whole thing up as we go. But it's so great that we have now an actual company that's made of cosplayers, by cosplayers, for cosplayers type of thing, which is like none of us really have any experience with running a con or a contest. We've got judging experience, but like all this stuff is just so new to us, but we're so committed because we love cosplay and the community and the culture so much. So that's how the whole thing started. That's how it's developed, and we're still learning a lot. And we just appreciate everyone for putting up with us. I think we're fairly organized, and we actually have admin staff this year, which is really helpful.
Well,
you don't look like you're dying this year, so that's a plus.
No, actually, this month has been great. I've gotten to like kind of relax a lot since submissions open, which last year was not the case because I processed almost every single submission by myself, except Courtney from the Egg Sisters helped me a ton at the end. But yeah.
No, I just remember coming to your house to drop off the original medals or whatever, and you texted, it's like, "Can you please bring me some groceries and stuff?" I went and got them, and I went and I knocked on your door, and you opened it, and it's like this human skeleton that clearly hasn't slept in a month.
Oh man!
I don't think you've been eating either, and it's just like, oh man.
Oh my goodness.
Oh man!
I didn't know about this.
Oh no, it was one of those things. It's
Thank you for saving
dude, are you okay?
Like,
I think my like brain blocked a lot of those memories out or something. Just like anxiety or sleep deprivation.
Did you bring him groceries?
Yeah, I brought him some groceries.
Yeah.
It's even better. That's true friendship, Chris.
Oh man!
Oh my goodness.
This was again 2 months into lockdown, and we were still trying to figure out how long this whole thing was going to last. Are there going to be cons later this year? Which obviously there wasn't, and we're still in the same shape right now. But yeah, we didn't know how severe COVID even was at the time. It was so new, and Bryce being a paramedic, I kind of talked to you a lot about, how long is this going to last? Like, is this really going to lock us all up for this long? And you were like, yeah, dude, this is going to suck for well over a year. And you were right. So anyway, we've got a great formula and format, even if we don't know what the hell we're doing, but we're doing it anyway.
We fake it well.
Yeah, fake it till you make it.
That's what I've been doing the whole time.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks I'm like good at this.
I think and we don't have to get like like all of us on the committee, we all have our own imposter syndrome. It was so funny, and I don't know if you guys watched this, but Volpin and Bill Duran were on the podcast a few weeks ago, and God, maybe it was a couple of months ago, I don't even know, but Volpin was talking about how he feels like he's just barely trying to stay in front of the maker community, right? Like that was actually his words. He was like, I feel like people are just like right behind me, kind of like, about to pass me in skill level and all this stuff. And like, my vision of Vulpin is that he's just, light years beyond what I'll ever achieve type of thing. But it was so, I don't know, kind of humanizing and cool to hear him say that he's still just trying to get better, And I feel that way about all of you guys at Frostbite. I feel that way about Hoku. I feel that way about so many of our other judges and makers, that you guys are just so refined, but it's so great to hear that you don't feel that way about yourselves because you want to keep getting better and do more. And that's why people look up to all of you guys, is because you're still willing to pursue, getting more polished and better at what you do.
Who are some of the makers that you guys like really look up to?
Boy, a lot of them are judges this year.
Nice.
I'll tell you that one. I mean, Bryce has been pretty much worshiping the ground Vulpin has been walking on for several years, as far
Yeah,
as like
his
look at the
painting and weathering book is my
detailing
Bible.
Which, by the way, there's 6 of those volumes in the prize pool this year.
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah.
awesome.
I have never taught a painting and weathering panel that I have not pitched his book.
That's awesome.
Like it's
It's I don't blame you. That's actually why he and I ended up becoming friends.
yeah.
Is a props and all that, but I grew up around automotive body and custom like hot rod paint and stuff. And so I remember like, oh man, like I remember I was on the phone with Bill Duran and I was like, you know who I really want to meet? I want to meet Vulpin Props. And he was like, you know what, Chad? He's actually at E3 right now. Let me give him a call and see if he wants to hang out. So I drove out and I picked him up and we hung out and talked about props and paint all day. And it was like,
It's
it
awesome.
was awesome. That guy's brilliant.
Yeah, he is.
Really
His
brilliant.
work is incredible, especially because we work. It's a different sector of the esports industry that we work in. I mean, we're kind of the guys that they call when they want, a replica of an Overwatch gun as a functional T-shirt cannon or whatever.
Yeah.
But to see the trophies and the work that he does and the kind of stuff that he does with the the stuff. I mean, it's absolutely phenomenal to look at.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it is such high quality work that is cool.
Oh man, you're such a fanboy. It's
Oh, I
wonderful.
really am. Well, it's we were
Me
guesting at
too.
Acon with Evil Ted,
Yeah.
and I remember talking to him because we're hanging out playing Jenga at the celebrity meet and greet thing, and I remember telling him, it's like, dude, like I started with your tutorials. Like it's one of those things that it's like, this is to think that we're guesting at the same event now and stuff and all of that.
Here
And
we play Jenga.
Acon was surreal in general because it's the first time that Aspen and I have been told that they wanted us to set up a booth to sign autographs for fans.
Yeah, that was weird.
And the fact that people actually showed up, it was one of those things that it's
That's
like,
so cool.
okay.
Yeah.
I kind of thought I'd be sitting at this table for 2 hours and then get to leave. Like this isn't what I pictured.
I gotta say, it's so fun when you're guesting at a convention and the convention is really, it's got a large maker community around as well, where it's not just the cosplayers, it's when you've got like multiple different communities, all of which like have crafting and different processes. It's so fun to have the overlap and be able to have these communication with people, because like there's so much overlap. There's so much that people that props, right? There's so much that doll makers do that is really the exact same type of thing that like you and I and all of us here do. And so like picking their brain on the type of materials they use and the different quirks of their industry, and then like how are they doing hair, and it's so cool, and I know like my favorite conventions have been the ones where like I get just that constant boom boom boom, let's all talk and hang out and create this narrative. I want to be guests with you guys and play Jenga.
Yeah.
No, it was a really cool event, and I love having the booth. But they had a separate area that they had dedicated. In this 2-hour window, these celebrities are going to be lined up. You have to have a ticket to get in line to go and get the signature and stuff. And for some reason, they're like, okay, these are you guys' time slots that you have to go sign autographs. And it's like, away from our booth at this dedicated celebrity thing, and like you're looking and there's like voice actors and stuff on both sides and all this stuff, and it's like, why am I here? And then there's people showing up and it's like, why are you here? It's just like it was
because they admire you guys.
yeah, but it was surreal because like like Chris was saying, like I don't view myself that way, and so it was just one of those things that it's like this is crazy.
You guys are selling yourself short. You really are.
We all do, though.
Incredible builders. I hope you realize I admire the heck out of what you guys are doing.
I agree.
So
yeah, well, and don't get me wrong. Like I mean, we're all proud of what we make and what we're able to accomplish and stuff. It's just it is surreal to look at it sometimes from, I guess, when you're in the middle of it, you don't see it the same way other people do or whatever, and it does. It's different.
Yeah.
There seems to be a lot of internal screaming that doesn't get translated over to final builds.
So I think a lot of us know that, though.
That's interesting. So do you guys still, because you talked about like you started making large and light builds just for fun and you wanted to do stuff at cons, like local, North Texas cons, which you did, and then you started competing, and then you started getting calls from, companies like esports and things like that wanted you to do replica props or full scale, mascot costumes and stuff. But you've had a lot of similar developments that like Hoku's had, or I've had, or a lot of other judges or makers that we know. But so will you ever compete again?
Yeah, I mean, I think
Probably.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Aspen. Sorry.
I mean, that's definitely in the cards. We've been tossing a particular build back and forth for I think the last couple months about how are we going to pull this off, and what materials are we going to use, and what paint colors, and how are we going to source this. So I think that's definitely in the cards.
Do you care to share what that build is, or is it top secret?
Chris and I both are really good. Wouldn't it be cool if those guys, like, we're really good at doing that.
Right.
So if you need some peer pressure, we
So
got you.
Arissa was a big build for us,
Right.
but in the last year or so, a year or two, we've really become very comfortable with automotive paint and body and stuff. And so wouldn't it be really cool if Arissa wasn't made out of foam, but was made like a car?
Whoa.
Oh, yeah.
How she's supposed to be.
Oh yeah.
Are you gonna make it out of aluminum?
Oh, we're thinking more fiberglass and plastics and stuff, but
Okay.
some 3D printed parts, a lot of molding and casting, a lot of
Wow.
fiberglass and stuff work, and just so she feels like a robot.
How she's
I gotta
supposed to.
tell, man. I think that's a great idea.
Wow.
I actually considered doing for Long Beach TwitchCon when I cosplayed as Uther as the judge. I was very tempted because it was so close to cosplay as like a warthog from Halo.
That's
and
awesome.
have like a Spartan riding.
remember
I
you
wanted to be
saying
the
that.
car.
I remember you saying that years ago, and I hope that you follow through with that at some
It's
point.
never gonna happen. Never gonna happen.
Right. Oh, that's
Dude, that would be really cool. A lot of vacuum forming would be good too. It would
Mhm.
lighten
Yeah,
it up.
and that's exactly it. Is that we just using plastics and stuff to make a one that was a little, because our biggest problem, and I think Aspen would agree with Arissa, was that apparently there is not enough buttered pecan paint in the world to paint something like that.
So
I remember
Dallas and Fort Worth are big cities, but we emptied literally every craft store in the Metroplex when we
Oh,
were hunting
goodness.
for it. It was
That's
so
hilarious.
bad.
Well, you only had 6 weeks to start and finish that build and get it to California too. So
What kind of
Yeah.
paint do you guys use on a lot of your builds nowadays?
It really depends. We use a lot of, if it's foam or something flexible, we generally use Vallejo airbrush paints. If it's something plastic or whatever, a lot of what we do is from Specialist Paints or the custom paints line. We do a lot of their Inspire airbrush paints, things like that. And then beyond that, it kind of just depends. Like if we need something specific, to go and source, like Aspen's been staring at Toyotas to figure out what OEM paints we might need for this Arissa, things like that, that just kind of becomes, whatever it looks like is going to be the best.
Yeah. Ah, that's
actually,
awesome.
I remember. Okay, the first time I shot a video with Bryce, he taught me about Vallejo paints, like model paints, which were great because we did like a bracer, like EVA foam bracer tutorial thing. And there was some other like really high pigment paint. I think it might have been Angelus paints, which are actually
I think
Oh,
we
yeah.
did use some Angelus on
Yeah.
it, and
Yeah.
we still
Yeah.
do use a lot of Angelus. I
which
mean,
is
that's
actually a leather
a
paint.
really good foam paint. That,
Right. So those were like
So thick.
you were actually, I think, the first person that helped me understand, because I didn't do foam work. I was strictly a fabric and leather cosplayer at the time, and when I moved up here, you were a big help in foam fabrication and painting. And then Hoku taught me all about
Createx.
layering with
Oh, yeah.
what's it called? Damn it, total mental blank spot. The wax based
Rub and
Buff?
rub and buff, yeah. Which
yeah,
actually,
yeah,
Bryce,
yeah.
you showed me that stuff too, but
Yeah.
that's been a lot of fun playing with rub and buff. Then I got to share that with my brother, who was here making his first prop ever, and we ended up making this fantastic new thing. And he was like, "Wow, watching it go from that very simple foam shape to turning into something that looks real was
Yeah.
so fun to watch his face be like,
yeah.
how the hell did that just happen? Because it was so
Yeah.
fast."
No, it
Yeah.
is really cool. I remember shooting that video with you too, because I will say Aspen is the creative core of our team. I don't have a creative bone in my body. Like, you show me a picture and be like, this is what I want built, I can build it. But you want me to be like, hey, I want you to design something like blank or whatever, I got nothing.
Wow.
And I remember shooting that video, you're like, hey, well, let's make a bracer. And just that internal screaming panic of, oh God, I can't do this. What the heck am I, whatever.
pulled
And
just
so we're
some, like,
sitting there
random
trying to pattern this thing out. And I'm
Batman-inspired-
like,
yeah.
I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how this is going to come out. And just, it's like, as we're actively filming, and it's like, okay,
It was a lot of fun, and we ended up you
it
made
was
like
it was fun, and it worked out. We ended
it
up
was
with a
kind of
bracer.
like a futuristic Batman-inspired bracer, which
Yeah,
was
kinda
really
thing.
cool. Briston, what are all those paints behind you?
Depends on which one you're looking at.
Um,
The little bells on the bottom are all airbrush.
Okay,
The big bottles up top, those ones are going to be the more automotive paints. And then the bigger bottoms on the bottom are all Angelus.
here I'm gonna make your view a little bigger so people can
When
see.
you say automotive paints, what specific brand are you guys using?
Well, let me just go grab.
all of those
let me
are
just go grab one real
Inspire.
quick.
Well, most of those are Inspire. Some
Yeah.
of them are Hot Rod, I believe.
Yeah.
But most of our automotive paints, even if we're getting the the 2-part catalyzed paints and stuff,
Sure.
most of them we get from custom paints.
Gotcha.
Hmm.
Gotcha. I know. It's funny. I did a project last year, and one of the things that most of my props, I get hired to do these very weathered, distressed, like pristine props that are then made to look incredibly used. Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
Do these.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they're just
Yeah.
solvent
Custom's awesome.
solvent spray paints. Yeah, custom's not bad. I really like the custom paints Inspire line.
Have
For
you guys
airbrush
ever
paints.
played with House of Color?
I've used it a little bit, not a lot.
Yeah. So that project I was working on last year, we ended up needing to do like pristine finishes. And so it's like, it's the worst thing for me to work on because I'm like, oh my goodness, like I am so OCD about something being perfect. And I got a new clear. I used a new clear coat. It was House of Colors Rocket Clear, and I think it has an 8-minute pot life, 30-minute
wow, that's quick.
full cure, like sandable.
Wow.
And I gotta say, if you guys are ever in a bit of a pinch, Rocket Clear, that'll get you going. Just make sure you don't leave it in your gun more than 8 minutes.
Yeah, I could see. And I specifically got the slow on the we use the custom paint show clear, and I specifically want it. It's like, it takes about an hour to be tacky and then a day to fully dry, and it's like, because I like having that extra time to deal with stuff. And
Do you guys not fight dust out in Texas though, or do you guys have like a little paint booth area or something?
we have a little paint booth area, but we
Gotcha.
also just kind of panic sometimes and be like, the backyard is the spray booth now because it's too big, and if I get a bug or something, I'm just gonna cry and regret my
man.
decisions.
Oh man, bugs. Yeah, they're the worst. You're just like, here's this pristine white finished surface. Up, gnat. No.
Yep.
Oh, funny. That's amazing.
Would now be a
Chris,
good time to
go ahead.
show some of the medallions that you've made this year?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Let me
we
go
definitely
grab
Save,
some
can.
real
save
quick.
the out of
I've
this
got
world
'em right
one
here,
for
Bristol.
last.
Oh, you got them already?
Yeah, I've got them here. So last year we went with a cold
Oh, yeah.
cast medal. So like here's one of our bronze medals.
Go in front of you.
In front of me.
Yeah, move it. There you go.
Okay, sorry, I
There
can't
we
see
go.
myself there. So
That's
yeah,
fine.
this is one of like last year, one of the cold cast. For this year, we've decided to change it up a little bit, partially because we're doing so many, and partially just to make it unique and different for this year. And so we're going with, and I don't know if you're going to be able to see it on here or not, but we're going with shift paints and specialized
yeah.
paints. And so like this is going to be for our beginner category using a voodoo shift paint that goes from a kind of a yellow to a copper to a purple. Or like out of this world, that'll be a peacock shift. That's a really cool blue
Oh,
to purple
God.
to black.
That's awesome.
I can't
and
wait
it's-
for people to
it's-
see that in the light.
Yeah, it's really hard to see that. Or we're using a spectra coat for needlework that Aspen calls it the He-Man sparkle paint. But it's a really cool chrome paint that then when it gets the sunlight, it just a rainbow of colors. That it's actually what we used on the Samsung Overwatch League trophy that we built last year.
Was that the one that got
tell ya.
destroyed? And I like messaged you, and I'm like, was this
Well,
real?
One of them.
Yes,
One of
yeah,
them
that's the
did.
one.
I thought it was the real one. I was like, oh no.
Wait.
They had to make like a dummy copy, and then they destroyed it to troll the internet or something.
Oh, God, I didn't even know about that.
Yeah, they asked us if we could build a second trophy that looked from a distance like the real one, but was substantially cheaper. And they wanted it to break really well. And so like the legs of it are we went ahead and printed them in vase mode out of PLA. And then because we wanted them to shatter really well, we actually took and melted down some isomalt that's basically hard candy and poured it in there so that when it hit the ground, it would
That's
shatter
awesome.
kind of like
Wow.
glass and stuff
Yeah.
and whatnot. And so yeah, they had this thing set up, and two of the fuel players were in, or one of the fuel players knew about it and the other two didn't. And so they had this video set up where they go in because they lost, and they're like, okay, man, here's the trophy, we accept defeat, you guys beat us, whatever. And then the guy that's in on it is just like, you know what, screw this, grabs the trophy and slams it on the ground, and it shatters into a million pieces. And the other two players are just standing there staring, just like, what the what do we do now?
I think
I'm
the internet was
totally
doing that as
going
well.
to watch. Someone just put that link in chat. I'm totally going to watch that.
I already did.
Yeah, thank you for
Oh,
doing that. I'm going to
goodness.
watch that as soon as this is over. And this was one of last year's Judges' Choice Awards, which was this lovely purple. But
1, 2.
Yeah, and just in terms of, because we're keeping the same color scheme for the Judges Awards,
Yeah.
but because we've got a little bit better equipment and stuff this year, and things have kind of calmed down or whatever, the medals this year are much cleaner. Which
I'm so
I'm
excited
really
to see these. in
I'm really
person.
proud of how well the let me turn my light a little bit. I'm really proud of how well the light capture and the crystals comes through
Oh
and
yeah.
whatnot this year. Like they're
Yeah, you
really
get
cool.
Crazy refraction off the surface.
Hmm.
I know
Yeah.
that the last year's had the actual like silver backing that helped give you that reflectivity.
Yeah, and this
But I
year's
can
does
see-
too.
I can see though, just off of you moving it in front of the camera, how much refraction you're getting off of the gems. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
they came out really well.
This was this.
I mean, they
the
turned out
only
really
pink
well
one that
last
you had
year,
made
too.
last year. You had a name for this, I think.
The Hello
the
Kitty.
Hello
Kitty.
Kitty
Yeah,
medallion.
the Hello Kitty one, which
It was
I-
one of our favorites.
Yeah, I ended up just getting to hold on to, which is great. And then this was last year's trophy, which I think a lot of people had seen. And this was 12 inches tall and designed and modeled by Hoku and then assembled, printed by Frostbite. And they made me this, which made me cry on camera for hosting the event last year. Then our Best in Show had the, what was it, gold and red version
Yeah,
of that?
gold and red.
Yeah, which was really cool. So this year, Frostbite's doing all of the medals, which are going to be incredible. And how many medals are you making this year? Like 40?
A lot.
Around 30.
30. Yeah, I think I've got 30 of them that I just finished priming and sanding and
That's
getting ready
right.
for paint earlier in a stack. And then
God.
if we need to do more or whatever, we'll get that. But it's a few.
It's a lot. Yeah, we have 30 total prizes, so 17
Oh,
Judges'
man.
Choice Awards, and then
It's gonna be
13
nuts.
like placement awards, which is well, actually, it's 12 plus the trophy. So yeah, whatever. There's a ton of awards, which is awesome. So
Yeah, it's going to be really cool. And I think people, when they, especially the winners, when they see the medals in real life, I think they're going to be really impressed. I think that I think they're going to be pretty happy with the quality that we've got this. Not that last year's were bad. It's just like we talked about earlier. There's that constant progression and always getting better.
Oh yeah.
yeah. Well, and
Yeah.
Aspen does such a great job with the lanyards, the colors, the heat press vinyl that you do on all of those, and now you've got like color shifting heat press vinyl to match the paint job on each medal, which is like the thought that you guys are all putting into this, like all four of you guys, is incredible. And I'm trying to put thought into like the show and the production of it and making sure people can submit properly and not be too confused and outline all the rules and do all the admin stuff. But creatively, you guys and all the other judges are making this show truly exciting for people, for the judges, for the competitors, for just viewers and sponsors to be part of this. We really want to see this grow more and more every year. And again, it's been less than a year since you even called me and said, "Hey, do you want to do the show?" And we're getting ready to drop our second show in what
3 weeks.
3 weeks,
Oh my
like
think-
20 days from, like 19 days from now or something like that.
Yep.
Yeah, getting
It's
close.
going
That's
fast.
crazy. So everyone's got
Oh, no.
6 days to submit, but we've got, I think, 16 days to pull the
Make
show
the
out
whole
of our
thing.
ass.
We
Should
got
be
a lot to
interesting.
do.
What?
Yeah.
Well, us four, we have so much to make.
Yeah, a
Yeah.
little bit. Well, and we've still got to finish the judges award and all of that too and whatnot.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. So every judge and myself, the host, we all have our own Judge's Choice Award, and we make there's a medal for that, selection, whoever we each select. But then we're also making a custom, one-of-a-kind, handmade prop or gift for that person as well. So there'll be 17 of those awards this year, as opposed to the 6 that we had last year. Which last year that was a
Oh, it's gonna
lot,
be
but
insane.
17 is. Oh wait, no, I'm sorry. We had 8 because Vulpin and Core Geek had
Yeah,
honorary
joined in
awards.
on it.
So we had 8,
Oh,
which
right.
was really cool. And now they're both full judges this year, which is excellent. So yeah, I'm finally at the stage where I'm excited. I'm no longer in this like nebulous cloud of confusion and frustration. I'm actually seeing the submissions come in. I'm seeing the trophy get developed. I'm seeing the medals. I'm seeing the sponsors come together, and I'm like, now I'm excited to build the show. Now I'm excited to show the world what you guys have all been working on. Meaning the cosplayers, what the cosplayers have been working on for 5 months or however long. It's been like almost 5 months solid since we announced.
Right.
So we're gonna get to see, and if you're following anything on social media or our Discord server, you've probably seen a lot of really wild stuff. But I can see what you guys have all sent, and it's gonna blow people away this year. I'm absolutely stunned every time a submission comes in, and I'm like, how the hell did someone build this in 2 months or something like that? And that's what's gonna keep me excited to do this for years. And obviously now I don't know if I haven't told, but we finally got our final contracts with our publisher,
Very cool.
which we signed with just this week, and we can officially announce that Ultimate Cosplay will be writing a collaborative book series, and our first book was greenlit by our publisher. We'll talk more about that probably during the actual event, but our first book is going to be about thermoplastics and modern materials in cosplay. And so far we have, I think, 20 different artists, maybe more, that are going to be contributing their knowledge and demos in an encyclopedic volume of cosplay tutorial literature, which is really awesome. And then we're gonna keep making books for as long as we can with all these amazing artists. So we'll talk more about that when we get to, but yeah, I have to say I'm looking at Briston, and I know you haven't shared too much during this podcast, and I just want to dive into your brain and know what the hell is going through your mind right now. Like it could be anything. What's going on in your head right now?
Well, I guess first things first, I'm both hoping against that goes like last year, because obviously we're getting close to deadlines here, but for last year, I forget the number we had. We limited it down to like the top 50 before we went into final judging, and even the top 50 was like pulling teeth, where you'd have to get so nitpicky even on just for top 50, where you'd have to be like, the seams on that one are just a little bit better, or this one just had a little bit better of video. It was so, like, y'all did some fantastic work, but dear Lord, was that hard.
It's gonna be worse this year, and we've changed the format on categories. So last year, for those of you who don't know, we had just intermediate class and master class. We didn't separate things by different mediums. So this year we've eliminated the class skill level, or whatever you want to call it, and introduced 3 categories, which are needlework, armor, and out of this world. So it's pretty much just a masterclass competition now, with the exception of our new beginners showcase, which was also Bryce's idea, by the way, as we were setting up for this year. You called me and you were like, we need more representation for newcomers. We need to get, new builders on board and excited and show people, and I think it's just so brilliant, because when new cosplayers and people that want to start building see the kind of submissions, that's super intimidating for any new builder, even to me in a lot of ways, when I see some of the stuff people submit. So I'm really excited for a lot of the makers here to see what the beginners are making, just to show you guys, like, hey, we all start somewhere, right? So big thank you to you guys for, and I think, yeah, we kind of like formed a really cool idea, because you wanted to do a whole like beginners thing, and I was like, man, this show's gonna be like 8 hours long if we don't start like organizing things. So we came to a really good compromise where we're going to be able to do that, and I think it's going to be really cool. So yeah, we'll have 45 total finalists this year between 3 different categories. So it'll be very similar to last year. Let's see. Actually, if there's any, and I'll edit this out, which I totally won't, by the way, but if there's anyone in chat that have any questions for Frostbite or Hoku or myself, start putting those in chat so we can start getting to some viewer questions.
Yeah. It looks like we actually have one real quick.
I'm also going to go to the restroom.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. But I'm just looking at chat right now, and we have someone asking what the 3 categories are. Right now, we have needlework, which is just general sewing, I guess would be the best way to put
sewing
that
and
one.
leatherwork is what we're looking for there.
Then there is armor, which I feel is pretty self-explanatory.
Right.
And then we have out of this world, where that one, I guess that one's more of our catch-all, where where it's like that's where the special effects come in, or maybe you have like a just something that doesn't quite fit neatly in the box of the other 2, or just
larger
really
than
excited for
life
that one.
things, and just multimedia, all sorts of cool stuff.
Yeah, mixed media, and also like there's a lot of like and you guys have probably seen this too at a lot of competitions you've judged, but there are some cases where there is a needlework or armor entry that is just beyond needlework or beyond armor, where they just do so much more than just one specific thing, and that's what Out of This World is really for. Yeah, a lot of people did like a needlework build that have crazy amount of lighting, and they sew faux shape and do all kinds of like fabric sculpting, which a lot of people are doing now, and or people are doing things where there's like silicone crystals coming out of fabric. Like I've seen all kinds of wild things. Like that's all Out of This World type of stuff.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the way that cosplay is going anymore. We've I've won best in show with costumes that now wouldn't even fit in an intermediate category.
And that's happened in
just
such a
because-
short amount of time,
Oh,
right?
it really has, because now people are getting into so many different mediums, and there's so much there that it's hard to define. And you get into special effects, you know, smoke machines, lighting, everything's just so much more accessible. All the Arduino stuff,
Yep.
3D printing, different sewing techniques and things like that. Everything's so much more accessible that it's become the game has just consistently upped and upped and upped and upped. But yeah, if you look back at stuff that we were winning best in show with 5 years ago, and now it wouldn't even fit in intermediate a lot of places. And it's crazy to see how fast everything has grown and how much the entire landscape really has changed.
And that's just a testament to how like giving everyone is with their knowledge, and how just kind of open source we all are, which only just breeds harmony and skill and passion for this whole culture. And that really gets to shine really bright through this, you know, competition that we're hosting. And I know I say this all the time. To me, this is not a contest. This is just a big celebration of cosplay. We're just disguising it as a championship because it's convenient.
Yeah,
But
well, and I think a lot of us, like I talked about earlier, I learned how to do my start. I learned from Evil Ted. He made those videos available so that I could learn how to do it. And
Yep.
to an extent, I owe that back to the community, because he was there to get me started. And so if somebody needs to know something that I know how to do, I kind of owe it to the community to teach them.
Yep. One funny thing, and you've probably heard Ted mention this before, but he was one of the first, you know, like him and Bill and I think Svetlana were like some of the first ever, you know, EVA foam fabricator tutorial artists on YouTube. And Ted specifically worked in, you know, film prop production for 20 plus years. And when he started making videos on YouTube and telling people how to make things like he did in films, his other, like, you know, industry buddies were furious with him.
Yeah, not a fan. Yeah.
That were like, why are you telling the general public our like internal core secrets of how we make costumes? And he was just like, because it's going to make us all better. It's going to make them better, and it's going to force us to be innovative and get better. And that's happened as a result of everyone that's just went on to take a simple technique, master it beyond what anyone ever expected, and then share that, and then that just keeps snowballing into what we end up seeing in contests like this. So for all of you watching this, and all the other judges are pretty much already doing it, but keep, you know, taking those tiny ideas and just stretching them as far as they can go, and then share that, and then just watch it keep unfolding and getting bigger and brighter every year, which is so amazing. I mean, that's such a gift that any tutorial artist shares with the world.
Well, there's also another really interesting thing going on with the industry, and that is that the industry has such a big issue with getting people into the union, and educating them, really, right? That we're reaching a point where the only pool of people that we're really going to be able to recruit new workers from is actually like the cosplay community and the costumers, and, you know, the people on RPF and all that. You know, they've almost gatekeeped themselves out of a future since there's not enough people involved. And even now, getting invited and accepted into the actual union for costumers, it's so incredibly difficult that they're starting to pull people in from outside of the union. There's a lot of people that are not union special effects artists now, and so you know, this isn't something that's going to happen overnight, but for a lot of you watching, just recognize that it is really not outside of the realm of possible that if you want to get involved working on movies, that you probably will be able to kind of reach that point eventually. So it's just a matter of continuing to learn and educate and grow.
Yep.
Sure.
No, and I think between the five of us here, we know quite a few people that have regular day jobs, including like all of us, that just because we were passionate, or some of our, friends, or, a lot of you guys, just about building something, it turned out really well because you were having so much fun making it. And then you got a lot of recognition. And then a lot of those people get noticed by, companies, TV shows, theater, film, commercials, stuff like that. And now I know so many people that just, they're like a, CAT scan technician or whatever, and they're making things that are in Marvel movies or things like that. And it's so incredible to
Yep.
see just everyday people making astonishing things. And those everyday people are astonishing people as well. But yeah, like you guys are saying, there is no limitation, and if this is just a hobby for anyone, that's awesome. And if you want to take it beyond that, or you get recognized, kind of like, actually, Frostbite, that's your whole story of,
Yeah.
like, you guys had your own thing, you wanted to do something huge, and now here you are wearing Frostbite cosplay uniforms and, showing off all these huge, insane, larger than life builds and getting the recognition by some really exciting companies in esports and things like that.
Yep.
Yeah, not
There's-
something I ever would have pictured. When we started this, it's one of those things that it's a ride that I didn't expect, and it was far shorter than I would have thought to get to where we were starting to get noticed and starting to get offers and jobs and stuff. And we're building on the shoulders of giants. I think Aspen and Burston would agree. Even in terms of, like, we were the first makers to be invited as guests for the Fan Expo, the Fan Expo Dallas show. But there was a push for years for Dallas Comic Con, and then after the Fan Expo acquisition and everything and whatnot. And the people that pushed for that and were trying to get makers involved and trying to get that all through, we were the ones that reaped the benefits of their hard work. And it's kind of the same with everything. The techniques that we learn, the opportunities that we have, again, everything, we're all building on the shoulders of giants and building on the shoulders of those that came before us.
I really admire your humility and how humble you are, because you're giving maybe too much credit. And I know like, we're all inspired by something, but you guys still maybe took that knowledge and went ahead and did things that no one else had ever done.
No, I mean, everybody puts their own flavor to the techniques as they learn them.
Yeah.
But that's really the beauty of it, is that I can figure something out, and then, like Hoku was talking, maybe I have a doll maker friend that's got a really cool technique and I can pull that in. But then, if somebody comes up to me at a con and says, "Wow, how did you do that?" and you tell them, and then it's just this never-ending chain of, you really do have to just build the entire community up it all together.
Yeah.
Because if you're not willing to be open, and you're not willing to acknowledge the fact that someone else put the effort to figure this technique out, and it's my job to share it forward, I mean, none of us in the community are going to be getting better. So I think that's one of my favorite parts of this, is that, I mean, it doesn't really matter how technically successful someone is, or if they're a newbie, or whatever. Everybody's got their own flavor and their own techniques, and as long as we're all willing to sit here and share, and just put our best into the community, it's just, we're going to keep getting better together.
Yeah. Yeah. Some of the best ideas I've ever heard in my life started with the seeds that were planted by the content creators, whether it was Chris or Ted or myself or you guys or whoever, right? I actually view it kind of like, I'm selfish in teaching people, because I like to spread that information, and I like to allow however many people to go out and experiment and learn, because it inevitably, I get one or two people coming back and going, "Hey, have you ever seen this? This is really cool." And when it's not something that I know, all of a sudden my actual overall, ability and skill base and knowledge base is now growing. and I can then refine, repurpose, kind of interpret this discovery that they've made. It's reciprocal. There's so
Mhm.
much reciprocity in what we do if we're willing to kind of engage in that approach. Being willing to share, but I think almost more importantly is being willing to listen sometimes,
For sure.
because we've got these incredible minds out there that are just now learning what cosplay is. But these individuals are just brilliant. These individuals have such a crazy amount of knowledge base already that they step into it and they're like, well, this is cosplay, sure, but I've been doing this for my whole life. Whether that's, your machine techs or it's your, your painters. Yeah, I mean, good grief, like the amount of room for everybody, depending, regardless of what flavor, as you said, they kind of are. It's all just there to accentuate what's available already. And so it's definitely something that we can continue striving for, in the maker community, in the cosplay community, but also outside of all of that. It doesn't have to stop with just making things. And I look forward to the possibilities going into the future, based off of what I've seen accomplished in the cosplay community and the growth that's occurred. This is something that is really going to continue happening just because of technology and
Yeah.
communication, and how we can actually, convey a message instantaneously worldwide, to the extent now where we've got a international online ultimate cosplay competition where you don't even need to speak the same language to compete. We're speaking a language. It's called beauty, it's called art, it's called creativity, it's called growth. And I'm excited that we really are in a position to have more of that, as long as we're willing to accept it.
Yeah.
So,
Dude, I love everything you just said.
rant off.
We have to have at least one amazing Hoku rant every podcast, and that was wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I guess just to kind of piggyback off that too, the sphere that we're in is really interesting too, because it's not a ladder. Like there's not some elite that everyone's building up to. You can have everyone going out and doing all this, and then all of a sudden you get some guy who installs billboards for a living. He's like, wait, I look at what I can do with this material.
Yep.
Then all of a sudden there's this entire new offshoot of possibilities. And it's just, there's so much room to grow, because these skills, whether or not they were, intended for what you were thinking, they were all of a sudden kind of collide and mesh and branch out in so many different ways that it's kind of amazing to see what happens.
The thing that, and I love what both of you just said, and when I see like when I was new and Bryce mentioned, or probably all of us actually, when we saw like Ted or Bill's or whoever's first videos or whatever, there's that, the techniques that they're teaching, of course, right? Where it's like, kind of a black and white, like this is how you do this is the kind of adhesive, whatever. But the thing that I really got when I first started watching those, tutorials and podcasts and things like that with makers and RPF stuff was the hope that those tutorials give the people that watch it. Because I remember watching Ted's first two, I started watching Ted when he had 2 videos on his YouTube channel. I found him like right when he started. But I was terrified of foam. So I bought a sewing machine, was what I did. Ted doesn't know how to sew, still, I don't think. But just the hope that he gave me, that he built something out of foam, told me I can make something. Like, it's possible. I didn't know if it was possible or not. So with watching other people build things, I realized, like, I could do this too. Why not? And with every tutorial video I see, and with the contest, like whether not just this contest, but any cosplay contest, there's so much hope that's being just thrown all over the place, all over the world at every maker to say, like, this is possible. You start at 0, like we all do. You can take it as far as you want. So it's, technique and passion is what, those are the 2 biggest elements of building anything or learning any new skill is for me. And I love, especially, you know, and we don't have to dive too much into this, but just it's been a rough year and a half, right? You know, for everyone on Earth. And being able to provide hope to people is like the contagious element of spreading that is so powerful. And that's what we saw last year. It echoed for months and months, and now we get to do it all over again. And that's incredible. It's been a rough year, you know? And I'm not trying to be a bummer because I'm trying to just building this show has given me something to do, has given me something to be hopeful for and excited about, and just seeing submissions come in is really building me up in a big way. So I owe a lot of, you know, gratitude to all of the judges, the sponsors, the competitors, the fans, the family members, the husbands, wives, boyfriends, girl, like everyone that's part of this is supporting something that's so much greater than any one of us or even the show itself. So I just feel like so full of love. And, you know, my brother came out here to help me. Hoku's coming out here to help me with setting up the show. You guys, you know, are local to me here with Frostbite in Dallas. And the fact that we get to do this is wildly special to me. Someone interrupt me before I start.
I'm
Going
interrupting
on.
you
Yeah.
because it's time to ask you guys about your cosplay turn-ons and
Yes,
turn-offs.
I like this.
Starting with Aspen, rapid fire. What is one of your biggest cosplay turn-offs and turn-ons?
So turn-ons, and we just barely covered it. I love the fact that at any given convention, I can walk up to any person in costume that I think is neat and say, "Hey, that's a really cool thing you did to your cape. How did you do it?" And they will tell me.
That's a good turn on.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
I think on the opposite side, I think people maybe internalize their work a little more or put a little more drama to it than is necessary. At the end of the day, it's a hobby. I mean, we're out there having fun. I think people sometimes take themselves a little bit too seriously
Oh, yeah.
and take things maybe a little bit too personally
Hmm.
every once in a while in the community.
By the way,
were not the
that's the
first
most
person that
common
said that.
turn off that we've heard is people that
Yeah.
take themselves too seriously at cons or things like that. So, and I totally get it. It's rough to see that, or when people are really hard on themselves or hard on another cosplayer for any particular reason. It's not fun to see that. So, yeah, that's been very common. Sorry, Hoku, you were saying something.
No. That's not I was just saying that's not the first time we've heard that,
Yep.
you know, a similar message to that. And I completely agree. All right, next up, Kristen.
Eddie. So, I guess as for a cosplay turn on, I really like attention to detail, even if it's you know dumb little, no one will ever notice it kind of stuff. You know, if you put say like a barcode on your or costume and it, you know, you will put a barcode where it links to like a random product. Oh, that's an in joke. Do
Yeah.
it. Like
Yeah, or like a
You
QR
know,
code.
or you know you're building a set of armor and you get the one guy who like gouges it out and like sews it back up to make it look like it been half as it kept around like that. That's awesome. Like I love little stuff like that. And then I have a hard time coming up with cosplay turn offs. So, but I think one of the big things, and it's something that I've dealt with before, is I think people get intimidated by the size of things
Sure.
and don't necessarily follow what my dad would call the whale joke of how to eat a whale one bite at a time, where you're like, oh man, look at this. I can't do that. It's like, sure you can. Just, even, you're looking at this big old suit, you're looking at this character or whatever. Just make the pair of boots.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then, if once you figure out how to make the pair of boots, and you know what? Hey, maybe they're a little bit janky. Like it happens, you're learning. Most of how we got here was we tried something like, oh man, that didn't really work the greatest. We could have done this bit better or that bit better. And just, one bite at a time until one day you're like, oh, hey, look, I accidentally made that entire suit. How'd that happen?
I have to. Are you referring to people that straight up refuse to entertain the concept that they could make something?
Yeah, pretty much, where people are like, oh man, like look at all these details that go into here,
I wish
Well, I
I
mean,
could
look how
do
big it
that.
is.
Right.
It's like,
Yeah.
that's because you're trying to eat the entire wheel in one sitting. Just, take it a couple bites at a time.
Exactly. Break it down
Yeah.
into digestible pieces. But one of my, just going off what you said, it's very frustrating for me when I hear someone say, I would love to do that, but I have no talent. Right?
Gosh.
That's something that really gets under my skin really fast, because like,
What is talent?
right.
What is
Yep.
that?
Yeah, and
There's kind of an in joke in our house too, because obviously we have the one up there that actually has an artistic career path, but I'm a plumber. She's a paramedic. And if you ask
So-
us about our artistic backgrounds, he got kicked out of the recorder band because they didn't. Like,
it's true.
We are not,
in
we are
fourth
not
grade, I got
talented.
told to stand up front and pretend like I was playing because they didn't want me to actually do it.
Wow.
we are.
That's
Oh my
really
goodness.
funny.
We did not come from like these amazing, inspired artistic backgrounds. We just
I
kind
do
of started throwing things against the wall, and eventually something stuck.
Yeah.
I do want to share that a high school art teacher of mine that I really, really look up to, he hated it anytime someone would come up to him and say, man, your students are all so talented.
Hmm.
He hated it because no, his students weren't talented. They just put the work into it.
Yep.
That's all.
Yeah.
That's
And the thing is, like, we keep coming back to this, but when Pat Covey, when we were talking about wanting to build something for TwitchCon, and Pat Covey threw out, hey, you guys should build an Orisa.
Hmm.
I could not build an Orisa. None of us could. That's something that we could not do.
Yep.
6 weeks later, we could.
Yep.
And
One
that's
bite of the whale
exactly
at a
it.
time.
Is
Yep.
that we had to learn new things, we had to try new things. There were things that went well, there were things that didn't go well, there were things that whatever, but that's the thing, is we couldn't do it. 6 weeks later, it was built because we wanted to learn. And that was exactly it, is that anybody can learn to do this. It's just a matter of being willing to learn, and you are going to fail. Like that, I think Aspen posted on somebody's thing a couple of weeks ago or whatever, that your best work today will not be your best work next year.
Right.
Hmm.
Right. Yeah. You guys are totally right with that one. And case in point, earlier I even mentioned it with Reinhardt. When I built it, I started with the feet. It was literally, it was a systematic approach of, well, here are all the points in which things are not going to work out. And if I can, meet or exceed what I think is functional with the foot, then everything else is easy. And that's just breaking a problem down, though. But you know what, I will say this, that's probably a trait that is commonly found in cosplayers, but especially those that tackle those larger than life costumes. I think the people that build the larger than life costumes probably have one major trait, and is that they're willing to fail.
Yeah.
And that's part of building large costumes, is you have to go into it with this expectation where I'm probably going to have to redo like 10 different things just because there's so much that can go wrong. And if you're willing to do that, though, it also means your ability to grow, if you have the mindset to, is going to be really high. And that's one thing I would challenge anybody to try building something larger than life, even if it's just like an arm or a leg or something,
Or even a prop.
a prop even too.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It shows you in a very specific fashion that if you give yourself the time and you give yourself the opportunity to try and do something out of your comfort zone, once you can accomplish that, whether it's building a Reinhardt or building like a giant monster hunter sword, right? You all of a sudden are going to realize that the smaller problems can take just as much work, but you can focus them a little bit smaller. That's what Lich King was for me. It was, I'm going to put every single ounce of work that I put into Lionheart, but into a small costume and see what happens. And boom, it was Lich King. So you guys are awesome.
All right, we got to hear Bryce's turn-ons and
Shoot.
turn-offs. And actually, if you don't mind starting with your turn-off, so we can end it on a
On a positive note,
positive turn-on, I would appreciate that.
for sure. I think it's kind of going to be in the same vein, is that my biggest turnoff in the cosplay community is when you get people that take themselves too seriously and don't want to include others. Like, we've had a rule since day one that if we're going to be part of a photo shoot, everybody's welcome. And so if you look at like our big Overwatch costume photo shoots and stuff like that we've done at Fan Expo and things, you'll see people that have incredible builds, and you'll see them standing right next to people that maybe don't have quite as much experience.
Or it's their first cosplay ever.
And that's the thing, is that this is a hobby for everybody. And now, don't get me wrong, if you want to go off and do a one-on-one shoot with a paid photographer, absolutely do it. That's a great thing to do. But I hate it when you see in a hall somebody that tells somebody to go away. Or, you know, it's like, and now don't get me wrong, I understand getting followed around by somebody that's, you know, pestering you or whatever. But when it's like, you know, you get a group of people that are trying to that are trying to pose just a random hallway photo, and there's some kid in a homemade costume that comes to stand up for one photo and they tell him to leave. I hate seeing that kind of stuff, because this is for everybody. I think my biggest turn on with cosplay though is that that's pretty rare.
Right.
This is an incredible community. And I remember, like, we're at TwitchCon, we're competing in the finals for a lot of money. Like, that's not a small prize.
Right. Yeah.
And in our same category, larger than life, Terrible Trio sprinting across that concourse with some black paint so we can fix a flaw before we go in for our judging.
Which Hoku apparently could smell.
Yes. and that's the thing. We're competing for a ton of money. This is not a small thing. It would have been real easy for her to just let that be like, okay, this gives me an advantage, this is whatever.
Yep.
But when you get into the heart of the cosplay community, that's just not who we are.
Right.
Sure, there are those people on the fringe that take it too seriously and that want to be the best no matter what and don't care about other people. But at its core, this is an incredible group of people. And at the risk of sounding a little too, you know, whatever, from my personal experience, I work as a paramedic in a 911 system. I get to see how bad the world sucks sometimes. And having this community, being able to see how good it can be and how good people can be, is truly an incredible blessing.
I love that you said that. And yeah, a lot of people, and I don't know, people that have never competed or maybe are new to it might think about this. But yeah, just echoing what you said, I've competed a couple of times in some master class contests, and I've been a handler for people that were competing, and 99%, if not more, of those people are just having a party backstage or in the green room or before they go on stage, and they're telling each other how amazing their costumes are. And it's like, because everyone's so nervous, right? And everyone's on the same page, and it's stressful, and there's the whole con crunch and whatever. So by the time any show happens, in person or virtual or whatever, everyone is just so caring and just lovely to each other, which is a wonderful turn on. And this whole thing that we've gotten to build, I'm so happy we did a Discord server this year. We've got like hashtags that people are sharing, and I get to repost all this stuff. For anyone who doesn't know, I'm doing all of the Ultimate Cosplay Instagram and stuff like that. So many people are tagging us, and I just get to reshare everything, because I'm like, everyone needs to see all this stuff because it's so much fun, and everyone's just sending such positive messages. I haven't seen a single person in Discord say a single negative thing, except there's not enough time. I need more time.
Yeah.
I want more time. That's the only thing
I've seen that a
seen.
few times.
And I love dropping the Con Crunch countdown timer, like a screenshot of it every couple of
Oh,
days,
no.
just to piss people off. But
No, it's the worst.
I just, you guys are finishing your costumes, but then all the pressure quickly shifts from you guys to all of us to prejudge, judge, and build a show to make you guys look amazing. That's our goal, is to make all of you guys look incredible.
Yep.
And yes, I am a troll. I can't help it. But so that is our turn-ons and turn-offs. I didn't see a whole lot of questions from the community, which is fine because I think we covered a lot. But
Yeah, I think we kind of were just answering every question people could think of.
yeah,
Well,
no,
if
since
if
Hoku
chat-
asked the lovely turn-ons turn-offs question,
yes,
you always end by asking our guests if you have any questions for us.
take it away. Go for it.
I just did.
Yeah.
I don't really got anything. I think we hit most notes.
The biggest thing is, are y'all ready for this? Like,
No.
No. Well,
No.
you know, like you were just saying, you don't know how to build an Orisa until you've built one. It's the same thing with this show. I don't know how this is going to go until we're live, you know? Like, even though we kind of did it we did it last year, this is a whole new everything this year.
yeah,
people,
we've
it's
actually got a
more-
little bit of time.
We have a little bit of time, but, you know, like, we don't script this show. We don't rehearse.
Yeah.
We don't do any of that stuff. It's just a bunch of makers just admiring artists from around the world. That's what this is. So are we ready? No, not at all. We have like the polls haven't even closed, so to speak. So
I gotta make this.
yeah.
Yeah.
You only see oh wait, yeah. You can show it if you want, but Hoku is
Nope.
still yep. We'll have some great renderings of this year's trophy, which I think is probably going to be our trophy every year.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah,
It's-
it is a really good design.
beautiful.
It's really cool. Hey,
Thank you.
if y'all didn't see the little screen flash there, just trust me, you're gonna like it.
Right. But-
You'll have to tune in for the Hoku streams that are gonna happen all week.
Yeah, Hoku's going to be streaming the 3D modeling and production of that entire trophy on this channel. So make sure every time you see this channel go live that you pop in to see how the thing is doing.
Yeah.
That's only like the top half of it too, that you can see on here. But Aspen, did you have any questions for us or about the show this year?
I don't think so. I'm really not looking forward to having to weed things out. I've been keeping an eye on the work in progress on the Discord, and it's just like, wow. I guess is all I can say. We're not really supposed to be commenting on there, but I'm watching, and it's incredible. I'm really, really looking forward to seeing what all the hard work that's going into this is going to turn into.
Yep. You can comment in there too, by the way. If so, I'm the admin of Discord. If I didn't want you to see it, I would revoke your access to those, you know, different chat channels. But I thought it would be fun if the judges.
in the work in progress, we have it set so judges can view but cannot correspond.
Can't
is
talk
that-
about it.
Is that
Yeah.
what we had done?
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot.
That's
Okay.
what we have
yeah,
done.
forgive
There's
me.
no
Yeah, so I made it
correspondence.
so because I figured if people are sharing stuff on social media and you accidentally see stuff of people you're following, it wouldn't be fair if you did not see. Yeah, okay, I got it.
Right.
Just
Um,
know
Everybody's
that
got
we
the same opportunity.
Yep.
just know that we are watching, and dang, that's all I have to say.
Dang.
And right now, the only people that have seen the actual submissions are myself and our two admin, which are Paisley and Glue and Cat Cosplay. Those are the only three of us that have seen final submissions.
Yep.
So none of the judges have actually seen any of these completed submitted forms or, you know, videos or photos, and they won't until we start doing prejudging probably mid next week. Because
Oh man, it's
we don't
coming.
want to get swamped and behind, you know, before deadline. So we're gonna have to do
Yeah.
prejudging as they're coming in type of thing, so that we're ready to go by, you know, May 1st or 2nd. Yeah. Anyway, anyone else have any last thoughts or anything you'd like to share before we start wrapping this up?
Thank you, everybody,
Hmm.
in chat as well as on here. Frostbite, you know, I told you guys earlier, I want to be better friends with you guys, so I'll try and be better. And
Yeah, hey, I mean, same thing. We'll hang out.
Yeah.
If you know, when you're out here
I
next week, if you want
know.
to stop by,
That's
you
gonna
know,
be super
it's only-
exciting.
I'm gonna count
about
the
a
days
half-hour
real
drive
quick.
from Talk's house.
It is 7, 8, 9 days from today. Hoku will be in Dallas, and we can all hang out.
It's funny because the last place I traveled to was Dallas for Alcon,
Wow, that's right.
and it, it was canceled the first day, and then I was on a plane back home, and the first place I'm going back to is Alcon. Well, Dallas.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, alrighty. Well, I'm good. So I think
Cool.
we should end it and say farewell to all of you wonderful people.
All right. Well, Frostbite, wave goodbye to the cameras and all the
Yeah, y'all have a
people.
good
And this was a lot of fun. Thank you guys so much for doing this. And we
Thanks for
will see
having us.
you. Oh, wait. We do not have another podcast until the show. Because.
Oh man, we were the last ones.
We still
wait,
gotta do Sammy.
I'm sorry. We have next Saturday. We have Pros and Cons cosplay on May
Yeah,
1st.
we also still
Oh.
we gotta interview
I
Sammy.
thought we were special for a second.
Correct. Yeah. So we're gonna have Pros and Cons and I think Sammy on next Saturday. And then after that, we are gonna take a week off because we're preparing for the show. Anyway,
Yes.
waving goodbye. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see
Bye,
you
everyone.
next Saturday. Lots of love. Bye, folks.
Bye.
See ya.